Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by anglerschoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio. Welcome to another episode of Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio. He's an accomplished artist and outdoor writer. He's the ever-evolving Charles Weiss. Charles, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Ben. It's very good of you to take the time to interview me on the various subjects that we'll be touching on, I guess, perhaps fishing, artwork, I don't know, how the world turns around.
Well, you are probably one of the industry's most interesting people that I've had the pleasure of meeting, and it's always a pleasure catching up with you and seeing what's new in the world of Charles Weiss.
Well, thanks for the invitation, and we've got some various things going on, and artwork is happening in a variety of ways. There's several publications that have included my artwork on the cover and inside recently in the past couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get a cover on Muskie Hunter magazine. We had a bit of a dry spell with them of almost 5 years. From 2007, they were enjoying the artwork of other artists, and then just this year they decided it was good to get my artwork on again, and so the painting Close Encounter of that very focused, sinister-looking muskie racing up out of a weed bed and looking at an old Pikey Creek chub jointed model with the silver flash paint job. So that muskie cover I thought was quite well done, and they enjoyed it, and I hope it increased their sales and subscribers. So that was one of the things I did recently. And Muskies Inc., they have very rarely had a cover with illustration on it.
Mm-hmm.
In the past 4 or 5 years, they've had maybe one.
Yeah.
And mine is the second one, so I was very happy about that, and it's a very rare occasion, and I've gotten to know the editor of that publication quite well over the years, and not only do I know him, but I've been supplying this cartoon,
mm-hmm.
their publication, it's called Muskie Tunes.
Yes.
Including some of the frantic and wonderful scenes that happen with muskie underwater and perhaps above the water with the fishing folks that cross their paths. And so, yeah, I enjoy that. That's a humorous side of muskie fishing, usually on a fairly open kind of humor. I think one of the worst ones I ever did was where I had a scene in a muskie tune above the water. They showed a scene in a bar where all these guys, muskie fishermen, are bragging and lying to each other.
Mm-hmm. As they all do.
Below that, in a separate cartoon below that, I had a plan view of a map showing all the shoals and shorelines of islands and shores, and little X's and muskie symbols, and I was saying this is where the muskies lie, and then above it was that bar scene with the fishermen lying, and I said this is where the fishermen lie.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was pretty zany, and I had a few people say that it wasn't funny. But I try these things, and I hope I express something that people are thinking, but they're not saying out loud. It's one of those it's the job of the artist to communicate, the cartoonist to communicate the wonderful world in all its facets, basically to try to find the funny side of muskie fishing. So,
mm-hmm.
And it's a strange and wonderful world. So, but yeah, with the Muskies Inc., the cover I just did for them for the May-June issue is titled Double Trouble. It's a leaping muskie, twisting and turning like it's in a horseshoe kind of shape, and there's a giant wave underneath it, and the double-bladed bucktail is flying off the edge of its jaw there, and so it's titled Double Trouble. It's kind of exciting, and I was very fortunate to have that. And so now we've got another piece of artwork in the latest Muskie Hunter, featuring the Canadian Muskie Opener, where I came up with the idea of a zany sort of idea torn out of the pages of Mad Magazine, where I have the caricatures of the 7 muskie fishermen, and they're all holding one mega giant muskie. And it's, sort of underlining the idea that there's big muskies up in Canada, and these 7 guys, we're going to tell you all about it, from northwest Ontario, Lake of the Woods, which we included the guide. It's a very strange, pumpkin-headed kind of a guy named Keith Davison.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
And then there's this other guy, Greg Videcki, who's a guy who fishes over on Lake Nipissing out of Callender Bay. And then there was this other guy beside him, John Anderson, who fishes up at the Ottawa River, just south of the capital city of Ottawa, over by Montebello. And then there was Graham Bristow in the middle, and he fishes Georgian Bay quite a lot there. He's caught tremendous muskie. And then there was this guy out of Lake St. Clair. His caricature was included, and his name is Terry Vandewauer, and he fishes out of the company called Rampage Sport Fishing Charters. And then there's this caricature of Gord Pizer.
Yes.
And he, of course, does a lot of fishing across the Muskie Range, focusing on northwest Ontario. And then the last fellow is Rodel Nisa, who has quite a business guiding out of the Kawarthas for muskie. And I would say of all the guides, he was very helpful with all the information he was providing, because it's so close to the Toronto, the Kawartha Lakes, and he was giving a lot of very good information. Because as this cold spring has come on, the muskie fishing has been a little bit of a mystery, a puzzle, you might say. Some people have claimed the muskies are in transition. I would just say the water's too cold and the larger fish are not moving around as much.
Mm.
And so smaller fish, definitely, their metabolism is less, so you would be able to catch a small muskie quite readily over a large one. But yeah, that's a little bit of what I'm doing, and I've got my calendar that I'm painting, all these 12 paintings. Every year I put 12 paintings together for it's the classic muskie calendar. And so I'm working on all those paintings all the time, talking to fishermen and folks about their fishing adventures and trying to include 1 or 2 of those images in my calendar. So, Ben, if you have a favorite lure, I could put that into a painting of you in the vision of the scene of perhaps it's, a Papa dog being attacked on the surface.
Well, we both know there's a couple of manufacturers that are near and dear and close to me.
Uh-huh.
And one of them's already been painted, but we're not going to give that one away.
No.
But do you know what I'm talking about?
Ah. Okay, was it a recent painting?
It was a recent painting. It was a recent painting. And it's just a headshot.
Oh, is that the sledge?
Oh, no, don't give it away. Don't give it away.
Hey,
but
I'm trying to figure this out.
There's
flat-footed here.
I think it's it's the, I'm going to say, seventh picture in the calendar.
It was in the calendar?
Yeah, it's the 7th one.
Oh.
A gentleman uses them for his magnets, his fridge magnets.
Oh.
Yes.
You're being very quiet.
Very well. I'm trying to use it for clues to an upcoming contest when Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio reaches 100.
Ah.
So, but do you remember the name of that painting you gave it?
Oh.
He's a gentleman from the Lake St. Clair area.
Oh, are we talking about a Bondi bait?
No, not a Bondi bait.
Okay.
No, it is a
but I know George Eunice.
It is a blade bait.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those are cool-looking lures.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using his woody lures for years, and they do a lot of damage out there.
Oh, bet.
Yeah. Well, he's got that new design. It's sort of a variation on his original woody, and, they do damage right across the whole Muskie Range. Like from the St. Lawrence all the way over to Lake of the Woods, and all points in between. They catch muskie everywhere, very reasonably priced, and same with those handlebars bucktails. Those are very good too. They've been catching fish all over.
Well, I will be getting a chance to fish with Mr. Mike Parker the KW Bell River Classic.
That's coming up,
I will be definitely throwing some handlebars. In fact, I'm going to fashion myself with a handlebar mustache when I go down.
We'll be looking forward to that. I can only imagine. We'll be using, is it sort of a theatrical kind of, sort of approach you'll be taking?
No, it'll be my real mustache.
A mustache on your face. And then just for the duration of the contest, perhaps, maybe some sideburns too, taped on.
Charles, thank you very much for being on the show. That's all the time we have today.
Well, I appreciate that, and I hope folks were entertained by listening. And we can only hope that they'll see my website at charlesweissart.com for more and interesting items, including my blog.
There we go. Charles, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Ben.
Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by anglerschoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio.
All right, folks, welcome back to Ben McWhinney Outdoors. My next best guest is a kayak enthusiast. We ran into each other. Well, not literally ran into each other, thank goodness, because my boat was a little bigger than his. But my next guest is Cory Jaklitsch, and he's a kayak enthusiast. Cory, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me.
You know, I saw your boat, or your kayak, and I was like, wow, this guy knows what's going on. You had it completely decked out. You had all your gear. You had rod holders, everything. Yep. Tell me about what got you into kayak fishing and when you started.
You know what? It started 3 years ago, and I'm telling you, I've done everything. I was fly fishing at 12 years old. I've been steelheading for 16 years, and you just kind of want to try something new. And a really good friend of mine, Brian Hardy, he was kayaking, and I was looking at his photos and talking to him a lot about it. And I'll admit, I was a little skeptical. I didn't know what to think of it. Like, I thought to myself, well, why not just go out and buy a boat, a little 14-foot aluminum or something? But the more I did the research on it, it caught my attention after time. And after I bought it, I mean, like I said, I fell in love with that before I even owned one. And I regret not getting one earlier. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's just, I fished from the bass boats. I've done all that, and it's just a different a view of it. It's more intimate with the water and nature. I think it's great. So
now you've caught plenty of fish on that.
Absolutely, I have. Yep.
What kind of fish do you primarily target when you're going out? I usually like to target. I don't get a whole lot of partners this time of year, but during ice out, when the ice just goes out, I love to do the black crappie fishing. Oh, yeah.
I think it is the absolute most underrated fish up here north of the border. I know that our great friends to the south of us love the black crappie, and they got some big ones down there, but there's a few spots here in southern Ontario that unbelievable fish. And it's a small fish with a big attitude. I like to target them early spring, and then the pike once the pike opens up, because I mean there's not too much. You got to wait for the bass. The bass opens up in about a week or two here. And
yeah, it's this weekend in the Kawarthas.
Yeah,
if you want to take the trek up
they open
there.
This Saturday?
Yeah.
So, and then we're the week after. But I mean that's what the prime fish is from the kayak. It's a blast.
Yeah. Well, you're so close to the water, and they could almost jump into the boat if you're not careful.
Then there are times when I've been out on bass boats, and I think sometimes you actually miss fish because you're standing up. You're missing. Like I have hooked big bass, and I'm talking, I remember my biggest bass last year was a 22.5-inch smallmouth. I hooked this fish 6 feet to the right of me on the kayak, and I don't think I would have hooked that fish on a bass boat. I just don't, because I think he would have saw me standing up. That's just my own opinion, but I just think it's stealth, right?
Yeah, definitely a more stealth approach, and one of the little video clips that I had produced while I was out there on Sunday, I had said, when you're coming up on shore, you kind of got to watch where the shadow of your boat falls because you'll spook
Absolutely.
them. And with the kayak, you do have that stealth approach. You're a smaller profile. You're lower to the water.
Yep. And it's quieter, right? It's just, it is what it is, right? And there are some kayaks where you get to stand up in them, but it's
now, what are you running for a kayak?
Pardon me?
Your kayak. What are you running?
Like, what do you mean? What am I
like? What kind of kayak is that?
Okay, yeah, I'm using the Wilderness Systems, and it's the Tarpon 140, and it's the Angler's Edition. So you got the rudder on it and all the holders, and it's about, I think it's about 74, 76 pounds.
Wow, that's
so,
light.
It's a little heavy, but you do what you got to do, and it's sturdy. Like some people think of kayaks where I always get asked, well, don't you tip it? It's actually very sturdy, a kayak. So, and I'm not small. Like I'm 6'4", and I'm 215. So, it holds its own pretty well.
And you're able to stand up on that?
Not on mine. I think that if a shorter person could stand up in it, but with me, I don't have the best. I wasn't the best skateboarder or snowboarder growing up, so I'm not even going to attempt that.
So, is there a fish that you want to target out of your kayak?
You know what? Like I said, bass has got to be number one. I did go out 3 times last year into Port Credit and Bronte, and I actually downrigged 4 salmon. I didn't come up with any luck, but that would be something that I would love to hook into off that kayak, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go until I get it. So I'm aiming for the salmon, and another goal of mine is I think we all know Ashley Ray online from the social media, but she hooked into a muskie a little while ago, and that's always been my dream fish from the kayak. So
well, if you don't mind a little rough water from time to time, Lake St. Clair, which is closest to us, is probably one of our better muskie fisheries.
Heard that, yeah.
So it's
pretty incredible down there on St. Clair for sure.
It's a numbers game, but there are some trophies in there. So
absolutely, I just think that's one fish we have here, and it's man, I tell you, to hook into one of those things would be. I think that's at the top.
Yeah.
Out of the freshwater fish, it's one of them at the top for sure.
Is there any tips or advice you can give our listeners that may be interested in getting into kayaking or kayak sport fishing?
Yeah, just do it. Honestly, that's the. Like I said, I'm 34 years young, but I got mine 3 years ago, and the only regret I have is not getting it when I was 21 or 24. You know what I mean? It is. If you're thinking about it, if you don't have the storage for a 14-foot boat or anything like that at your house, I would start just doing research online, and just type it in and watch some videos But
it's
it's incredible. Just throw it on your car and go. You don't have to worry about all the gas. You don't have to worry about charging up the batteries and stuff like that.
Well, I think you almost sold me because when I was out there,
I just bought one for the wife. So Ben, you're going to have to come out with me and try the experience. It's pretty fun.
Because I had all my gear in the boat, and I'm like, you know what? I'm still crowded, and my boat's bigger than Cory's. And you seemed to be all comfortable, and everything was within reach of you, and I was like, man, I gotta get me one of those.
It really is.
And
the
it has
these
become...
things are, like I said, the Tarpon 140 by Wilderness Systems, the seat, phenomenal, and all the room, all the storage in the world. So.
And I noticed as of late the kayak fishing has become quite popular in TV as well. There's a lot more kayak fishing shows on WFN now than ever before. Yep. And it's definitely a niche, but it's not an exclusive niche.
Exactly. It really has grown fast. I think I actually heard it's one of the fastest growing sports going right now. So.
And you're right in the midst of it.
And yeah, it is. I mean, you think about it. 10 years ago, Ben, did you see anybody fishing from a kayak?
No.
Exactly, you didn't. And that's why the first time I saw it a few years back, I kind of chuckled at it, like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, what are you doing?
and ain't that the truth? But
yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, Cory, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure meeting you, and it's great having you on the show. And keep your eyes peeled for Cory. He's going to be making some progress here shortly, as he alluded to me before our podcast here. So, Cory, once again, thank you very much, and hope to see you back up at the lake.
Excellent, Ben. Anytime.
Cooper's away this week fishing, but he'll be back next week, so stay tuned for more of The Rant with Cooper Gallant, right here on Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio. Hey folks, if you like what you hear on Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio, be sure to drop us a line at benmcwhinney@yahoo.com. All right, folks, my next guest, good friend and guide. Whenever Ben McWhinney Outdoors wants to go get some golden fish, or carp for that matter, my next guest is Peter Kolkas. Peter, welcome to the show.
Nice to be on it. So, I came from Greece about a year ago.
Yep.
And I've been fishing carp for about 8 years, but I know just about everything that's out there for them.
You're quite in the know back home in Greece for your carp fishing, aren't you?
Yeah. I come from a fish town. My hometown is called Kastoria, so we're surrounded by a lake, and almost everybody fishes over there. And I was pretty good at it over there. And from what I'm seeing over here, I'm good at it here too.
Now, would you say that carp has definitely caught on and is less underrated now than ever in Canada?
What I'm seeing is that although like a year ago that I came, and everyone that I was speaking to about carp fishing, like they were not that happy about fishing for carp. Like nobody really likes that fish. But it wasn't exciting. Up.
Yeah.
And I am pretty sure that at some point it will be the number one fish. I don't know how many years it's going to take, but it will get there at some point. It doesn't matter that there's different species here. Carp has something different to it. You know, it's so calm to fish for it, and you really have to study the fish. It's not just a reaction for it to bite. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different story. If I were to compare it to some type of fishing, it would be ice fishing, for example.
Yeah.
I'd say that it's very similar to ice fishing because, again, you have to be patient. You don't know when they're going to start biting. And you get into big fish, especially here in Canada.
Yeah. And
that's why it's going to catch up, because there's so many of them. Mm-hmm. And you can catch them very easy.
It's quite different over in Europe, where they actually have their tournaments and whatnot, and it's quite a popular pastime, as opposed to Canada being so underrated. But there are people like my friend Ashley Ray and yourself that have helped bring the underrated grass carp to some potential here for a sport fish.
Yeah, the grass carp actually is a different type.
Oh.
The one that I have on the photos is called a common carp.
Common carp, okay.
So the grass carp is longer, and it's not that thick of a fish.
Mm-hmm.
It looks more like an oversized chub.
Okay.
So common carp.
Let's talk about them.
It's just that anyone that gets into a carp, just say this. If you go carp, you don't go back.
That's what they say about muskie.
Muskie fight like crazy too. That's why.
Yeah.
And it's not that I love a fish. Like, I started carp fishing because I hooked into one accidentally when I was about 19, 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And after a few years, I just got into it. And it's just an amazing fight this fish gives. You know, like, I've caught a 20-pound steelhead. I've caught big fish. And all of them, they fight. Okay, big fish. It's a big fish. It has weight. But the way a carp fights, it's like Keith was telling us. They have horsepower, you know, like
they got
the 30-pounders that I'm catching, it takes me 15, 20, 25 minutes to reel it out of the water.
And
so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So you can't, I personally won't compare that to bass fishing. Not saying that bass fishing isn't exciting, because I've hooked into bass and I know how fun it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a whole different story. Like a bass, they'll pull it out of the water in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah.
A carp, you really have to, like, fight the fish.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing part about it. You know, no other fish has made my knees shake. I'll just put it to you that way. And everyone that I've taken carp fishing in Greece, for example, every single one went and bought tackle afterwards to go and catch carp.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing fish.
And it is definitely a patient man's game, because they're not your typical swim by, oh, there's some bait, I'm going to bite it kind of fish.
Oh, you're right on that. But that's a thing, that here in Canada, there's so, not so many people go for them. So the fish are not that cautious, you know. They will practically pick up anything. I am catching these fish. I've fished with a hair rig over here.
Yeah.
And then the next day I said, you know what, I'll just give it a shot. I'll try the corn on the hook.
Yep.
And that worked just as well. So in Europe, for example, in Greece, if I were to try fishing for them with just corn on the hook, they wouldn't even smell my bait.
Wow.
There's no way I would get a fish that way.
So they're pressured.
They're so pressured. We fish for carp the way Canadians fish for salmon, for example.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best species over there. That's how we look at it. And it's not for eating.
No, it's a strictly
a lot of
sport
people
fish.
think, sorry for interrupting you, but a lot of people think that we eat the fish. Oh, they catch them in order to eat them. No. I have eaten carp, I won't lie, but not just from anywhere, and not often. Like,
yeah.
It is a national food.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah. And it's definitely a sport fish for you guys.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Now,
keep in mind that we have stores and exhibitions that happen in Europe that are 2-3 times the size of Bass Pro, for example, and it is all carp.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Wow.
Like, all carp. When I came the second day, I went to Bass Pro. As an angler, you can imagine.
Yep.
So
it's like
I went
a kid
to
in a
Bass Pro,
candy
and
store.
I'm looking around trying to find the carp section, and couldn't seem to find anything. And I ended up asking someone that was working there. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir, where's your carp section? And he turned to me and he's like, you're not from here, are you? You're like, you're European. I'm like, yeah, we don't have one. Which is, it's a pity, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to buy. There's one shop here in Hamilton that has carp tackle, and I'm sure it's going pretty well. So,
well, Natural Sports in Kitchener here has a fantastic carp
I'm
selection.
sure, yeah, that one too.
Yeah,
has some tackle. Yeah. But still, it's nothing compared to what exists. Like, I can't even find the stuff that I want in Toronto, for example.
Yeah. Huh.
So
that's strange. So it's still still an underrated sport fish.
Yeah, extremely. And when you said that you need to be patient for carp, you need to be patient if you're fishing in Europe. But if you're fishing for them in Canada, the truth is, and you know what you're doing, even a little, it's very easy. I'm telling you, to get into fish.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I went, I tried a few different rigs to see what they need. Ended up hooking into 3 fish, got all of them.
Yep.
The biggest was 26, smallest was 18 pounds.
Wow.
You can imagine how fun that was. And the
Yep.
second time I went, properly prepared then, I got 9. I lost 3, but I got into 9.
Huh.
So it is, it's no rocket science, like a friend of mine says. It's simple. I would recommend for a beginner, for example, if you want to use a hair rig, try fluorocarbon, which that they can't see.
Mm-hmm.
I'd use 15 pound and up, maybe even 20 pounds if there's clams or I'm not sure what they're called in the water. Otherwise, braid works just as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're more cautious, it's better just to stick with a fluorocarbon. And they get hooked right away by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little stiffer than braid.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
They're sensitive fish too, right? Like if something's not right, they won't bite.
Yeah, they can see. I was sight fishing them the other day at not Tommy Thompson Park. That's where I caught the big ones. The truth is, at Too Good Pond. I don't know if you've heard. It's in Unionville. It's a small pond. It's nothing special. There's carp in there, even koi, that the colorful ones that get up to I think the biggest would be around 12 pounds in that pond. And I was casting my line with fluorocarbon, and the fish would go up to a couple of feet close to the rig, and they'd take off. They wouldn't go closer, and not just the one that would see it would take off. All of them would turn their back afterwards. So they're very smart fish, but the fish over there are pressured.
Ah.
So that's the thing that people get hooked on with carp. It's not just tying a lure and twitching it, you know? You really have to figure out different presentations in order to blend in with the environment for the fish not to see it and pick it up. You want everything to look as natural as possible, and everything laid down at the bottom. That's my advice, and whoever follows that, just keep it simple and do that, and I can guarantee you that anyone will get a carp in Canada that way.
Excellent. Well, I had an absolute eye-opener when we went out recently with Keith and Jonathan.
Yeah.
And I had no idea some of the physiology behind carp fishing. Like, when you brought the carp out of the water, it was thrashing about, and then all of a sudden, you put your hand over its eye, and it calmed right down.
Right away, yeah. Those are things that you learn over the years. Like, if you cover a carp's eyes, for example, for people to know, because it's like, I feel sorry for the fish, you know, I don't want it to get hurt when I get it out of the water, because I always place it back in.
Yeah.
So I don't want it losing scales. I don't want it to get damaged or anything or injured. So that's why we use a mat as well. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have a mat, for example, the best way is just cover its eyes. The fish will calm down right away.
Yeah, that was amazing to see that.
So that's a good tip for anyone to know. And I'm pretty sure that it will work with pretty much any fish, you know, but I don't know about muskie. I wouldn't put my hand
No.
Those are pretty scary.
Well, Peter, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you and your carp adventures. That's pretty much all the time we have, folks. If you want to get more involved with carp fishing, track down my buddy Peter Kolkas. He's on Facebook. You'll know him by all the big carp that he catches, and drop him a line and pick his brain. He's a plethora of carp information.
Yep, I am also on Instagram, and you can find me by the name Peter Kolkas. It's pretty hard to pronounce, but anyway, if you find me, feel free to ask anything you need. I'm more than happy to help people out.
Excellent.
It's always a pleasure to put a smile on someone's face, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Pete.
No problem. It was very nice talking to you.
Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by anglerschoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio.